Good morning, everybody. You're tuned in to Cragcore. Thank you for being here today. So today is Friday the 5th of May, and it's the day that we descend into treason. Is that even a thing these days, actually? Do you still do treason nowadays? I don't know. But what I do know is this weekend we announce our new tyrant as sovereign here in the UK. It's a very, very sad day. I mean, it's a sad day for me when I look around and I see that there are people still getting hyped off this stuff after everything that we've seen. Let's forget the past few thousand years. Historically, monarchs, rulers, fucking presidents, Caesars, whatever, historically they've all been tyrants. They've all ruled with an iron fist and an iron boot. So let's just forget about all that though, and let's just remember what's happened over the last few years. 2020, 2021. Since then, I mean, we all know what that was called. And you know what? Since this is going to be my last video, I might as well just say what the hell I want here. We all know that coronavirus was a big scam, don't we? We all know that now. A lot of people made a lot of money. There was lots of finance that got shifted around and changed hands on the global platform, and it's still happening. That was a springboard for everything that is happening. It was the catalyst for what the next 10 years are going to be. I personally don't think it's a coincidence that the name Corona is very similar to CORONation. Or at least Corona fits in. And I believe that Corona simply means crown. So if you look at it on those terms, the crown virus, well, putting two and two together here, a coronation costs a lot of money. A new tyrant king is going to want his dowry, and he's going to want the people, considering he's a tyrant, just like all the rest have been and ever will be, until we decide that we've had enough. What they want is the public to pay for it, because the public pays for everything else in their lives. They appoint themselves sovereign over us, and they take from us to sustain a lifestyle so vast in its opulence, it's unimaginable to folks like you and I. And that this is why it's so sad for me to see the banners up everywhere, to see pictures of the man himself. Let's celebrate the coronation of our King Charles III. I think it's extremely sad, personally. If it's not obvious by now, then it never will be, that the cost of living has gone up. There's no coincidence here. The cost of living's gone up. Everything's gone up. And what does the cost of everything bring? Well, it brings more taxes in. And how do these people survive? Well, they survive through the taxes. It's the way it always has been. They tax the public. They say, we are your king and queen, and you pay us a tax. Back in the old days, you had to give a certain amount of sheep from your flock. You know, a few bales of hay. You had to give a percentage of everything, and then when you sold it, you had to give a percentage of the money to the crown. It's the way it always has been. And they got fat and they got rich off the backs of everybody else. And that's still what's happening today. There are people out there that have lost their jobs over the last couple of years. People that went out of business because they couldn't survive due to the lockdowns. Remember this. You probably know somebody that lost their business, lost their livelihood. I know that there were people through association that committed suicide because they lost everything. Men, grown men that had families, that were looking after their families, committed suicide because of the pressure placed upon them by the system due to the lockdowns that were irrelevant, that didn't need to happen. What we've had to endure over the last few years is absolutely disgusting. It is unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. We should never forgive, and we should never forget. It's absolutely disgusting what the people have been put through. And if you think that our soon-to-be new fucking crowned tyrant didn't have anything to do with that, well, then I'm afraid you are blind. This guy is a bosom buddy of Mr. Klaus Schwab, you know, the front man to the "you will own nothing and be happy." The same group of people that want to buy up all the farmland, the same group of people that want to take everything from you and have it all for themselves, so you can live in, yes, yet more poverty, yet more dependence on the state. If you think that our new fucking soon-to-be crowned tyrant isn't involved in all of that, well, then you're blind. And this means that we've got darker times to come. But speculating on that, that's going to be a job for the future. And if I'm there speaking about it, then so be it. But right now, I don't feel like I need to be saying anything else now. I don't feel like I need to be making any more videos, because at this point in the game, if people are still getting behind this coronation, well, I'm wasting my fucking time. Because I thought that the population of fucking planet Earth were better than that. I thought that after what we've seen, what we've been through these last few years, was enough to wake people up to the point where we could say, fuck this. This is an absolute load of bollocks. And we're not going along with it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And I'm kind of done with it now. I'm sick and tired of it. These people that are flying the Union Jack, that are getting behind the coronation, in my opinion at this point, are insane. It's collective public insanity to cheer for a man who is involved in the robbery of the people, the fucking genocide of the people. Because that's what's happened over the last few years. Genocide. And there's more to come. It honestly breaks my heart. It really, really does. You know, as I was saying, the cost of living has gone up. Why? Taxes. If you can just think about this for a second. If you've got a loaf of bread that's worth £1 and you're taxing 20% on that, well, the powers that be get 20 pence off the pound. If you raise that loaf of bread's cost to £1.50, well, now they're getting 30 pence off the pound. They're getting 30 pence, my apologies, off the same loaf of bread. What the people get is the same fucking shitty ass loaf of bread. But what the oligarchy gets is an extra 10 pence. It's obvious. There's been an orchestrated rise in energy prices to the point now where you're unable to switch companies. If you try and get the cheapest deal by switching companies, it says switching companies is not allowed right now, which means it's orchestrated. Why? Because there is a greater power, a greater accumulative power behind the scenes that is greater than the wills of these multi-billion-pound energy companies. There's a power greater than that. There has to be, in order to get them all to do the same thing. To rob themselves of potential clientele. Because that's what would happen if there was a price war. You'd find some companies doing better than others, and others going out of business. An energy crisis is the best time for that, right? Business-wise, but they're not doing it because there's a greater goal at hand. What does it do? Well, it pushes the people collectively under the same set of rules, under the same set of tyrannical guidelines, having to pay the same set of tyrannical prices. So everybody across the board is now either suffering because they can't afford it, or they're not suffering because they can. And what that does is it serves to push certain people down below the threshold, and it allows other people to maintain their position, thus sorting the us from the them. This is what these people have done. So in my opinion, to celebrate the empowering and the crowning of this fucking tyrant is insanity. It's madness, and it's what happened with Hitler, man. Everybody got behind the guy. I mean, not to mention that was it Prince Charles's uncle? Was a friend of Hitler anyway. No wonder they're all fucking tyrannical. I mean, the bottom line is this. Our lives have been made extremely difficult. All of this money that is being made through because the money that we're paying extra is going somewhere. We're getting the same product. We're getting the same electricity. We're getting the same bread. We're getting the same everything. We're all getting the same stuff. We're just paying extra for it. And the extra money is going somewhere. It makes sense to me that it's not a coincidence that all of this is happening at the same time. You know, they would have known that they had a coronation to pay for. A coronation costs a lot of money. A new crown, perhaps. Precious stones and jewels. Gold. Shutting down the streets of London. So, you know, so they can parade him through the streets in a little horse and cart. All of this costs money. And they're not going to pay for it out of their own pocket. They tax the people because they need extra money to pay for their little party that they're going to have. It's business. They charge you more so that you pay them more in taxes, so they've got more money to spend on the things that they want. I mean, and we're not talking here about a small thing though. And this is why I feel like I've had enough, because this isn't a small thing. It's not like people have just had a little bit of hardship here and there. Most of the time, the reason why this stuff goes undiscovered by the people, or the people don't give a crap, is because it's just a little bit here and there. It's a little bite now and then. But this has been orchestrated. This has been massive. It's been a huge orchestrated attack on the people, on their pockets and their way of life. It's too much. This time it's too much. And yet the people still back it. What is it that the people need out of this? What is it that the people gain? Are we still that stupid that we require a distraction given to us of these people, by these people? You know, give them a royal wedding and they'll forget all about this. Give them a coronation and they'll forget all about that. Is it also a coincidence that it's taken them a while to crown this guy? Or just didn't they have enough money for him? They just needed to make a little bit more money before they could afford it. They just needed to save up a little bit longer from the pockets of the people before they could afford it. You know, because let's not forget, Charlie Boy's been waiting a long time for this. His whole life's been about this moment. So he wants it to be perfect. He's a horrible man. I don't care what anybody says. He's a horrible man. They all are. Look at the narcissism, look at the arrogance of Prince Harry just lately. Writing a book called Spare. Fucking spare me the bleeding heart, man. He's been a spare. Oh my God. Well, fucking boo-hoo. You were a spare in the royal family, which gave you the freedom to spend all of that fucking free money without having to worry about your own personal climb towards the great chair. What an idiot. What an absolute idiot. The arrogance of the man is sickening. Let's all cry for this privileged little prick. These are the people we're dealing with. And they want to sell you that book. He wants you to pay for his crying little story. What an arrogant tosser. But these are the people you're dealing with. And Charlie is no exception. The problem is people's hope. People probably think that having a king will change the world in a good way. They think, oh yeah, we can all get behind our king. It's pathetic. What we need to do is realise that we're all kings and queens within ourselves. We don't require a monarch. We don't require a monarch. And anybody out there that is celebrating this, shame on you. Because at this point, it's time to pick a side. You pick a side with the people, or you pick a side with the tyranny. And if you pick a side with the tyranny, then you are against the people, because the tyranny is against the people. So shame on you for not picking the people. What a heartbreaking moment this is. I can't get over it. What are we going to do? What are we going to do, eh? I thought we were better than this. But moving forward, I think I'm going to have to give it a rest on here for a bit and try and decide where I land with all of this. Because there is a certain point at which a person has to think to themselves, am I just fucking wasting my time? I mean, maybe that's my own arrogance coming out. Who knows? If I'm arrogant enough to think that I could make a difference, make a change, to give people, I don't know, somewhere to go and watch a video so they can say, well, at least I'm not the only one. I've hopefully empowered people to have a voice, to have their own voice. That's what I hope, truly, that everybody uses their fucking voice, whether it's for or against anything I've got to fucking say, for or against any of the issues in the world, because only through that conflict of opinion are we ever going to find the truth. Until we put one opinion against the other, we're never going to find what truly is left over after the fact. But this is it. This is Cragcore. I'm signing off. I'm going to wish love and peace to all things everywhere. Peace.